It is Friday the 12th at 11 a.m. on the dot. You guys know how I feel about a schedule, and I like to maintain it, so let's get started, shall we? And for the first time, I didn't wonder if my text started. If it didn't, you know what? We're used to this by now. We got it, but I think we started on time, so I swore I wasn't going to mention that, but you know what? I mean, this is just who we are. So, how is everyone today? What's going on? Does anyone have any plans for the weekend? Is anyone going to the nursery to start gathering plants and flowers or veg for their garden? I know that my in-laws are definitely doing that. They took the dog with them so that there wouldn't be any barking during our live. But yes, let me know in the comments if you're up to any gardening or getting your outdoors ready for springtime that's coming up. That's tremendously exciting. The sun is shining. I'm ready to go. So, as always, welcome. I'm always so appreciative that you take time out of your day either to attend these live or to catch the replay. If you're watching live, say hi. If you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments below that it's the replay. But I mean, people always say, oh, I'm sorry I can't make it live, but no need to apologize. The replay is just as good. The information's the same, and you still have opportunities to ask questions or make any queries that you might have. So today we're covering overwhelm and how to deal with those feelings. I'm just warning you now, I'm feeling some type of way today. I woke up with a bad case of the giggles. I'm just in a really great mood. I don't know if it's because it's spring or it's because it's another day to do what I love, but either way, I'm probably going to be laughing a bit during this one, but that doesn't mean it's not a serious topic. Also, hi, Heather. I'm looking at the comment instead of looking at you. Hi. Okay, so as always, I highly encourage any sort of participation. If you have any questions, please pick my brain. That is what I am here for. I want to make sure that you are fully supported in whatever way you need. So, last week we talked about procrastination and follow through. How did you guys make out? Did you learn anything about yourself? Did you come to any sort of conclusions as to why procrastination might appear in your life and some ways that you can think about it differently? Let me know. I'm curious. I know I sure uncovered a few things, and I've been doing this for a while, right? So we're always growing, we're always learning. There's always room for improvement. So definitely let me know how you did. For next week, I'm not sure just yet if we're going to be on Thursday or Friday. I have a feeling it's going to be Friday again, but that should only be going on for a few more weeks before we move to Thursday at 2 p.m. all the time, forever, moving forward. But I had asked you guys in a poll if you thought a personal story from me about my own journey of transformation, my own therapeutic journey, my own healing path was something that you thought might be helpful. And a lot of you said yes. So even though that's very scary for me, it's a very vulnerable topic. There's a lot about it that is it could be triggering for me. I'd like to think I've worked through my triggers, but I'm not perfect. Anyways, I will share some of my story next week. I will gather questions from all of you. If there's specific things that you want to know or you're curious about, I will try and be as open and honest as possible, but know that underneath this desk, my knees are shaking. But we're getting through it together, and I know that it might be helpful for some of you to hear. So, okay. With that being said, let's move on to overwhelm, shall we? I have my notes already pulled up, so I don't have to go looking for them, but the reason I chose this topic was because I found after the last few weeks, we've talked about so many different things. We've talked about stress, we've talked about negative thought patterns, we've talked about procrastination. We've been uncovering a lot together. We have been going under the surface and really starting to dig deep and figure out some of these things that make us tick, and a lot of them we've come to find out have been there for a really long time. They're really deeply rooted, and that can cause overwhelm. So there were a lot of you that reached out to me and said, now I'm so overwhelmed, like where do I even start? So I thought, you know what? Let's start with a live, because then we can move through it together. And I mean, obviously this group is a community. So if one of us is going through it, all of us are going through it. Grammar, Denise. Let's do it. Okay. So this live is for you if you are feeling as though you want to make change in your life, but it all seems like too much. Like there's too much going on. I'm figuring out too much. I'm sensing too much. This is like overstimulating. So if that is how you're feeling, this live is for you. You don't like a lot of times overwhelm starts because you don't know where to begin. So that is what I'm here for. So if you're feeling that way and you don't even know where to start with it, this live is for you. And if you're tired, if you're physically, emotionally, mentally tired of having the uncomfortable feelings of overwhelm and you want to know a little bit more about it, this live is for you. I got you. I support you. That's what I'm here for. So first up, I had to get old Merriam-Webster out. I wish I had a physical dictionary. I'm going to get one because I think it might be fun just to have it. Because as always, I want us to have the full understanding, even if it seems silly to provide a definition, I'm going to do it anyways. So per Merriam-Webster, the definition of overwhelm is upset, overthrow. Example, the tornado overwhelmed many mobile homes. To cover over completely or submerge. The city was overwhelmed by flooding caused by the hurricane. To overcome by superior force or numbers. The city was overwhelmed by the invading army. These are like really sad sentences. I feel like they could have done a better job of making them more strengths-based. Anyways, that's my pet peeve. To overpower in thought or feeling. Overwhelmed with grief. Overwhelmed with terror. So I think for us, when we're talking about overwhelm, we are going to see there is that feeling of, submergence or we're inundated. But really and truly, overwhelm is often caused by feelings. Feelings themselves are the thing that are overwhelming. So, and this is really because feelings and emotions are so intense. These are often the things that prevent us from making progress because the feelings feel like a weight on your shoulders. I'm sure some of you can relate. I'm almost positive many of us can relate. And some people are going to be a little more sensitive to overwhelm than others. Have you ever heard of the term highly sensitive person? HSP? Yes? No? Could be overwhelmed with joy. There you go, Sherry. You got it. That's a positive way to look at it. You need to talk to Merriam-Webster because that's something they could have used instead. Absolutely. Anyways, back to HSP. Some people, about 15 to 20% of the population can be classified as a highly sensitive person. And what that means is that you are an individual that feels things far more deeply than others. Meaning you, like if you're watching TV, like things are going to impact you. Like if you see something sad, you probably aren't going to be able to help but cry or feel their pain. You're highly empathetic. The stimuli around you, whether it's internal or it's external, you're more sensitive to it. So, and some other reasons, like if you maybe you think you might be an HSP, there's lots of quizzes you can take online. But some of the main elements of a highly sensitive person is you can't stand violence. I know for me, like I have to avoid the news. I have to avoid like really violent movies because it just impacts me so deeply. And I've realized now that I want nothing to do with that. No thanks. Take it and go. You'll also know you're highly sensitive if when you're talking to people and you're having an emotional conversation with them, if you tend to feel exhausted or you start to take on what they're feeling, like if then you feel that same way afterwards, that's also another really good sign. You also need a lot of time to be alone. And some people might even think you're like an introvert or call you a loner. So rude. HSPs need more time to reset, to re-energize, to purge themselves of other energies that don't belong to them and go about their daily business. So that's another way. This one is my favorite because this, and if any of you are highly sensitive, you will, you'll relate to this. You're really jumpy or you scare easily. I know here in the house, like my fiance sometimes will be like, dude, you know I live here, right? Like I also live here, so why are you scared? But I do classify myself as an HSP and I will jump at anything. I get scared really, really easily. So, All this to say, people that are highly sensitive, and if that sounds like you, are going to feel feelings of emotional overwhelm far deeper and far more often than people that are not highly sensitive. And there's actually a specific term for that, and it's called flooding. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It means we are deeply emotionally triggered, so much so that is all we can feel. Like we're almost, what's the word I'm looking to? Frozen in place and unable to move on because we're feeling the flooding of those emotions so deeply. So, I mean, I'm thinking some of the women in this group, I'm just going to check the comments. Okay, there. I'm thinking some of the women in this group might actually be feeling these feelings of overwhelm because you are a highly sensitive person and you didn't even know it. So definitely do some research online and see if that is you. And I mean, I find it's a beautiful thing now. I respect it a lot more than I used to. But some people definitely look at it like, oh, you're too sensitive, all that stuff. And I mean, you all know how I feel about that. So I don't think you could ever be too sensitive. I think it's a wonderful thing. But what comes with that is you can more easily be overwhelmed with emotion. But we're going to tackle that, right? And when we have this flooding happen, this overwhelm of emotion, it becomes so difficult to access the logical part of our brain, which would make sense, right? If you're flooding with emotion, like you're thinking about that, that's what your focus is. Your body is in that fight or flight mode because it's trying to deal with all of this emotion. You can't access logic when you're feeling that way. So it is no surprise that it can be so overpowering. Here's a note though about overwhelm. When I'm talking for the purposes of this live, I'm not talking about like overwhelm that like typical overwhelm. There are things in our lives that, there's certain circumstances we're going to feel that way regardless if we're highly sensitive or, whatever the case may be. Maybe you're, a single parent, you're trying to manage a job and your kids and the finances and you're trying to do it all on your own. That is overwhelming and naturally so. Things like unemployment, major life changes or transitions. If, you're leaving home for the first time, that's going to be overwhelming naturally. Breakups, divorces, selling your house in the middle of a pandemic. If that's you, that can be overwhelming. And we're not really talking about those feelings of overwhelm, those more natural ones in this live. We're going to be focusing more specifically on feelings overwhelm that prevent us from moving forward, prevent us from expansion, prevent us from change. So when I'm debating on whether I should talk about this now. Anyways, a lot of times with these feelings of overwhelm, there tends to be some sort of underlying reason for it. And we're going to get into that a little bit later when we start delving into the psychology of overwhelm. But I just want to make a note of that. Like if you look beneath the surface, when you are starting to feel that way, there's usually a root cause and there's a multitude of different ones. And I don't think you're going to be surprised when you hear some of them because they're definitely going to be familiar to some of the things we've talked about. But we will talk about that more in a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk about how emotional overwhelm specifically tends to present itself. Let's talk. Okay? Let me know if you can relate to any of these. Put a comment below. Big old yes, me for sure. I am definitely putting my hand up. Absolutely. First things first, a big reaction to small situations. For example, you can't find your keys and you just start panicking and feeling overwhelmed and don't know where they are. Your heart starts racing, you're stressed out, or misplacing your phone and it's really in the bottom of your purse. This is one of the ways that, this is a very, very small, minuscule thing, but if we're feeling emotional overwhelm almost all the time, that teeny tiny thing is going to be really hard for us to manage and really hard for us to deal with, even though to some other people, they would be like, hey, whoa, that's just like a small thing. Here's your phone right here, right? But it becomes more difficult for us to access the logical part of our brain, right? We're going to have difficulty focusing. If you're having all of these emotions and they're flooding through your brain, trying to process information, like I just said about the logical part of the brain, becomes very difficult. So you can't even focus. You just find yourself sitting there like, oh my gosh, what do I do next? And I know when I start to feel overwhelmed, like I can't do anything. I can try and read, I can try and, peruse the internet, but I'm just frozen in that moment and can focus on nothing else. It could be accompanied by feelings of anxiety, mental withdrawing. The brain begins to like overheat in a sense, okay? And when it does that, its only way to cope when it feels that way is to shut down. So that's why we have that frozen in place feeling, because our brain's like, this is too much. I need to just shut it down. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to do anything, which is why we get stuck, right? That's why we get stuck and incapable of moving forward or growing or driving change in our life, because we're stuck in that moment. Our brain's like, I gotta just take a minute, okay? And your emotions may seem like they're all over the place. Like you could feel angry and sad, and like you can go through the cycle very, very quickly, like up and down, and like you don't even know which way is which, left, right, up. You don't know. Your emotions are raging. They're in control. They've taken over. You might have some physical symptoms, meaning lightheadedness, sweaty palms, tunnel vision, or you could have outward symptoms like panic, fear, discomfort, the dissociation, shut down. When we're dissociating, we're actually, it's kind of like shut down, but it's like our brain plucks us out of our body almost and just sends us somewhere else entirely so that we don't have to deal with what's going on in our bodies. So even just like reading that, I feel overwhelmed even reading it. So imagine if just reading a few simple words has that impact, what it's like going on in your actual body, right? So now that we know how it presents itself, and if I'm talking too fast, I'm really sorry. Let me take a drink of water so I can reset. Whew, that's better. The Starbucks cup is back. I remembered it this time. I'm sure all of you care. So I want to talk about the psychology of overwhelm. So it's, as we talked about in the definition, it is a feeling of being submerged or inundated, that weight on your shoulder. Remember, that's what we were talking about. So, but what happens is we tend to look at it as a barrier. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do anything. I can't get over it. I can't make change. I'm overwhelmed. So we look at it like a hurdle we have to get over. But here is what my thought on this is, and what the research shows. We need to stop looking at it as a hurdle and start analyzing what the root cause is. Because if we know what the root cause is of the overwhelm, then we can work on addressing the root cause, which will trickle down, right? So I guess it's weird to talk about a root being at the top as opposed to the bottom, but we're going to do it anyways, okay? So if we know what the root of the overwhelm is, then we can say, okay, what can I do to address that root issue? And then once we know our coping strategies to deal with the root of the issue, the overwhelm should follow suit. Should. That's not to say you're never going to feel overwhelmed again. I can't make that promise, though I wish I could. That'd be amazing. If I could just wave a magic wand, I would for all of you. But alas, that's why we're here together, right? So some of the most common underlying reasons for overwhelm could be things like fearing loss of control. We've talked about this many times, that as human beings, we like to be in control. We like to be habitual. We like to be in our comfort zone. So if there's anything in our life, so if we're going through, wanting to make some changes, losing that sense of equilibrium and losing that sense of control is automatically going to trigger overwhelm. There's no doubt about it. Fear of the future. Again, we just talked about fear. So if there's some sort of uncertainty or unpredictability about what's going to happen next, you're going to start to have that wave of emotion come down over you. Because again, we want to be safe. We all want that, but there is no growth, there's no development, there's no transformation without discomfort. I wish there could be, but it's that discomfort that's going to push us forward, even though it's uncomfortable. Anxiety. If any of you have ever been, doctors told you suffer from anxiety, or you've been told you're an anxious person, overwhelm tends to be a symptom of this, from what I'm given to understand. So if you have dealt with anxiety in the past, you probably, like, those two, overwhelm and anxiety, go hand in hand. Poor boundaries. You're taking on too much. You're saying yes to everything. Yes, absolutely, I'll host that dinner party. Yes, absolutely, I'll take on carpool. Yes, no problem. I'll host that event. For sure, yep, I can work overtime. And this tends to be part of a bigger issue, which is people pleasing, meaning that you're in need of external validation from other people in order to make yourself feel whole and feel better and feel complete, right? But we don't need the validation of other people to feel whole, but we're working towards that. It's one step at a time, right? Baby steps. So, but if you don't have boundaries and if you're not able to say no with confidence and without feeling guilty, overwhelm is going to rear its ugly head because you're taking on too much. And while you might have the best of intentions, it's not good for your own mental health. Negative thought patterns. Here we are again. Do you remember these? Negative thought patterns, like if we continuously think, oh, I'm not good at something, I can't do this, I can't. If that is ringing in our heads some more, anytime we try and make a change, we're going to automatically think, oh, I can't do it. And then you're going to feel overwhelmed naturally, right? Unprocessed trauma. I know I haven't talked a lot about trauma on in this particular group. It is my intention, but for now, if you have trauma in your life, maybe they're familial issues, an accident, breakup, abuse, these things, because your body is constantly in a state of stress, it becomes very difficult to manage other feelings or feelings of overwhelm when they start to pile down on you. So we will talk about trauma at another day and time, but that's just a mental note that this could be some of the reasons you're feeling overwhelmed. So to be able to deal with overwhelm, we need to address what is causing it as opposed to viewing the overwhelm itself as the problem, because it's not the overwhelm, it's what's lying beneath the surface. So anyways, before we move along, so that's kind of the psychology. Before we move along, I want to make a quick note, and I'm going to do this quickly because I know it's crazy how fast the time goes by in these lives. It's like the freaking Twilight Zone in here. Like 1 minute says 3 minutes. Now I'm at 22 minutes. Like, where's the time gone? Hopefully you're entertained and you're still watching. If not, I'm sorry. It's just who I am, right? So a note about being busy. A lot of people will fill their schedules because they lack proper boundaries, because being busy prevents them from thinking about what underlying issues are causing them overwhelm or are upsetting to them. Does that make sense? So we will pack our calendars so we can feel busy constantly, but then we'll say we're overwhelmed. So we can't possibly make change because we're so busy. But the busyness itself is actually a defense mechanism and an attempt to not have to deal with maybe some of those uncomfortable things in your life that you have now recognized and have self-awareness of, but it's scary to deal with them. So I'm going to ram my calendar full and I'm overwhelmed, and you end up using it as, I don't want to say an excuse because that's not the right word. You use it as a coping technique. Overwhelm becomes coping as opposed to actually feeling like you can't accomplish anything, if that makes sense. So that's just a quick note there. And some of you, I'm sure, can relate to that busyness feeling. Like I have to be busy I constantly have to be busy. If I'm not busy, then I'm not successful in life. And if I'm not busy, my brain's going to start thinking about all those unpleasant things or uncomfortable things that I don't want to deal with right now. So yeah, just a quick note on that. So if it resonates with you, time to assess why you're keeping yourself so busy. Okay? Some of you know who I'm talking to. I know a couple people should be able to relate to that. So let's talk about how we can soothe some feelings of overwhelm. And I know Melissa popped a question in the group about how to manage overwhelm. So we are probably going to answer it here. So I'm going to use a purposely vague example of making change in our life, and you'll see how this comes into play. So to deal with overwhelm, if we say, okay, I'm going to make some serious changes in my life, we need to be anticipatory about that. We need to know that this is going to be triggering. This is going to bring up a wave of emotions. This is going to naturally make us feel overwhelmed. So we need to go in with a strategy. We need to know, okay, how am I going to manage going through change or transformation in my life? How am I going to deal with it? Maybe it's journaling. So you're going to have your thought journal ready. Maybe you're like, you know what? I can't do this alone. I need a counselor. So you're going to work through it with your counselor in order to avoid the overwhelm. Or you're going to let a trusted friend know. So you need to be prepared in order to kind of start to combat that overwhelming feeling. You need to be your own advocate. Like I said before, boundary setting is going to be important. If you know I'm going to be making some serious change in my life, and the first thing that's got to go is me saying yes to everything, you need to be that advocate for yourself and just be like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I can't do all those things you're used to me doing. I just don't have the capacity. I'm taking care of myself. I'm a priority. I don't have space for it. And anyone that doesn't like that, because there will be people that won't like that, it's sorry, not sorry. You come first, and you're going to feel overwhelmed naturally if you're trying to make change, but you're still maintaining that crazy schedule of yours. Not crazy. Crazy is the wrong word. Busy schedule of yours. Remember the past. Reflect. Is there a time you dealt with overwhelm and you did it successfully? Because we've all dealt with it at some point in our life. So what was the strategy you used there? How did you get through it? What was the thing you did? What were the helpful tips that you gave yourself to get through it? And remember that, because we can always find exceptions to the rule in our life. And overwhelm is without exception to that rule. I told you guys, I'm feeling some type of way today. Disrupt your thoughts, okay? Do not engage in catastrophic thinking. We've talked about catastrophic thoughts a lot, which is the worst case scenario thought. So if you think I can't change, there's no way, this is overwhelming, I can't do it, I'm destined to be this way forever, that is a catastrophic thought. So instead, something you could think instead, and again, you need to come up with your own thought that feels good to you. You could say something like, I will get through this. I can do hard things. I have gone through overwhelming times in the past and come through on the other side. Okay. So our words have power. I posted about this the other day. So the way you phrase something or think about something is going to dictate what comes manifest for you. Take the next baby step. What's the next thing you can do on your change journey that doesn't feel so overwhelming? Maybe you're like, maybe the next baby step is I'm going to write in my journal, but even I'm going to write in my journal seems too big. The next baby step is I'm going to pick up the pen. I'm going to open my journal. What's the next baby step? Because if you can get through it, it's like a victory. Like, I've picked up the pen. Excellent. Okay, yes. What's the next thing? Okay, I've got my journal open, and make it into baby chunks to avoid the overwhelm. Breathe, which is something I'm not doing right now. The power of breath is beyond measure. I cannot recommend it enough. Just taking that minute to ground yourself, to focus on the inhale and the exhale, the expansion and contraction of the belly, the cool air on the inside of your nose, what it feels like to exhale through the nose. That is so powerful. It's a powerful way to get through things. Practice daily mindfulness. I know I feel like I'm a broken record with this, but focus on the now. If you're a person that becomes emotionally overwhelmed, work towards developing a practice that works for you. It might look like meditation. It might look like breath work. It might be mindful sipping of your tea. It could be a mindful walk where you're noticing all the details of the trees and naming them, and noticing the colors. Develop a mindfulness practice that you can use and rely on consistently when you come into those feelings of overwhelm. Be kind to yourself. Please, please, please. I say this so often, but I cannot stress it enough. Going through change is very, very challenging at times. Okay, so we have to give ourselves a hug and be gentle with one another, and especially with ourselves, because you're going to naturally feel overwhelmed. So if it happens to you, don't come down on yourself. You just need to give yourself a hug and know that the feeling of overwhelm is just for the moment, and it will pass. I was going to say this too shall pass, and I did it anyways. For anyone that's a Lord of the Rings fan, is picturing Gandalf in their head right now. I know it. Anyways, rely on your support system. Lean on your trusted friends. If you're working with a counselor, lean on them. They are your support system. They will help you to navigate feelings of overwhelm as you go through the change process. So those are just some really practical tips that you can go through. And I found for myself personally, they have been helpful. And use some of these this week. Use some of these techniques, and absolutely let me know if you can relate. And let me know below. Have you struggled with overwhelm in the past? Please, this is a supportive community, and the more each of us recognizes and realizes that we are not alone, the stronger this community will be. So do not be afraid to let us know in the comments. Yes, Absolutely. I've been overwhelmed. Let's help each other and lift each other up. So, yeah, we all have wisdom in one way or another, and I want us all to be able to share it. So, these are some of my thoughts on overwhelm and some of the ways that I have felt have been very helpful. So hopefully you got something out of this. I do see a comment from Sandra. She says, getting older brought me a sensation of time, timeless everything I do. I can't get caught up with daily routine, like time is gone. And she said it's overwhelming. Absolutely. And I felt like this as well too. As I started to get older, it's like you feel like you've got this like time ticking in the background. It's like tick, 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 tick. But here's what I've learned about time. It is a construct. What is time actually? It's a pretty deep thought. And I mean, I know we don't have time on this particular live to go through it, but you know, time is what we perceive it to be. So if we're constantly thinking we're running out of time, we're going to feel overwhelmed. But I've learned that timing is divine, that timing is perfect, that we're all exactly where we need to be in this moment in time. So if that brings you any comfort, Sandra, I will actually answer your question or comment more on your question in the comments. But yeah, it's not uncommon, and you're not alone. So before I close this out, because this has been a long one, and I thought to myself, this is going to be 5 minutes. Yeah, right, Denise. Okay. I am getting pretty close to my launch date. Align and Balance Counseling will be launching so soon. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. But even though we're before the launch, my schedule is open for breakthrough calls. These are free 30-minute calls for you and I to jump on, talk to one another, see if you think I might be a good fit. I want you to interview me for sure to see if we're a good fit to work together one-on-one. So we can discuss your goals. We can discuss what you're hoping to achieve. And I will actually put I'll put my link to my calendar below. So if that is of interest and you want to set up a call, I would love to meet you because I know all of you virtually, but I'd love to see your face. So if that resonates, definitely go ahead and fill up my calendar. I would love to meet you. Let's see, I got one more comment here before we close out. Another good reason to focus on this moment, Heather says, less stress about time running out, passing. Yes, if we're focusing on the now and we can bring ourselves into the present, for sure, it will be so much easier for us to not hear that like, tick, 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 tick. You know what? Let's just smash the clock, honestly. No, don't do that. Don't make a mess. But I mean, recognize that time is only at what we perceive it to be. So yes. Anyways, gang, I think that's all I got for you today. No workbook, but if you want the list of these tips, I can make a copy. So let me know in the comments below as well if you would like access to that. Or actually, you know what? Maybe I'll make them a post so you can see them. Anyways, let me know below what you want. And of course, I hope you are all happy, healthy, and abundant. And if you watch my Instagram stories, you know what I'm going to say. Make it a great day, everybody. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. Bye.